Hey, this is Eric at Farpoint Farms, and it's wintertime. We actually got a bunch of snow a couple days ago, but it's melted off pretty quickly. The flag's a little tattered from the freezing rain. Anyway, today we're going to talk about scan tools, the differences between your low-end code readers and your high-end scan tools that you'll find in professional shops. I've got two examples here with me today. One is a mid-level code reader. It's a Craftsman, which is a rebranded Nova. And I also have an OTC Genesis, which is the same as the Genesis Evo. And we're going to use it to hook up to a couple different cars, and I'm going to go over the differences between the two. So first let's go inside and we'll take a look at the two units, and then we'll go out to the cars and I'll plug them in one at a time to show you the differences. Okay, so what we have in front of us here, on my left is a nice Craftsman, which is a rebranded Nova, and that's a, I'd say that's a high-end, well, we have a cat there too. That would be considered to be a high-end code reader. It has some pretty nice features for the price. As you can see, it has adapters for OBD1, well, OBD0, Chrysler, Ford, Chevrolet, and Toyota. It also does live data, which your basic code readers will not do. Yeah, the star of the show, right? And then over here, we have an OTC Genesis. Now this is a professional scan tool. This tool will do everything that that tool will do. But it also does bi-directional controls, does recording, does a lot of more in-depth stuff. You can do graphing. Both of them will show live data, which most of your real basic code readers will not do that. But this one was fairly expensive. I think I paid almost $300 for that years ago, back in 2009, I think it was. Still every bit as effective on a 2017 model car, though. This one here will also work all the way up through today's cars. Has generic, but it also has vehicle specific, and that's an important difference between a code reader and a scan tool. Your code reader is going to be able to read engine codes, transmission codes. Some of the newer ones will also read ABS and SRS, but they won't be able to talk to climate control. They won't be able to talk to seat modules, door modules. And the newer the car, the more of those modules you have. A new car might have 20 computers on it. And a real scan tool like a Snap-on, a Mako, an OTC, and there's Autel makes the MaxiSys, and that's a great scan tool. Those will get into those systems. And so we're going to go out to the car. We're actually going to go out to a couple cars, and we'll go over the differences as I power them up and show you what each can and cannot do. Is that okay with you, Henry? Yeah, I thought so. Let's head out there now. Okay. First up, we've got the Craftsman scan tool. It's the 20899, which is, I think, an Nova 3160. Anyway, I've got it plugged into my Toyota here. This is my little commuter car. And once you plug it into the OBD2 socket and have the car turn to the on position, you can see you got a link button there. Go ahead and press enter. It's going to detect the different protocols. There's several different standards. And once it finds one, it will hook up. There, it's linked to it. Okay, so your functions of your basic scan tool are going to be, it's going to be looking for codes, which in this case there aren't any. It's also looking at these monitors, right? Your car has to pass a readiness test in most states to get an inspection, yearly inspection license. And that's what these little monitor tests are for. Now if I can get this thing focused. This model has misfire, fuel. You have your catalytic converter, your O2 heater function, and your evap. And of course this one's good. Now that is really like 0 out of 0 codes. This one also has a little lights that light up to let you know if it's ready, past the readiness. Fail, got a few pass but not all, and green for pass. Right. Now your average code reader that you're going to get for like $30 at Harbor Freight or at the parts store or at Walmart, that's the end of what it will do. Being that this is a mid-grade scan tool, This one also has a live data function, and if I press that, there we go. And it's exactly what it sounds like. This is live data that your computer is reporting. Different cars will have different amount of information they show. The car's not running right now. Let me go ahead and start it. You can see the ECT is 37 degrees, but let me push the clutch in. Okay. All right. Alright, you got your calculated load, your electronic coolant temperature sensor, short-term fuel trim, long-term fuel trim. There's your RPMs. And as I scroll down the list, there's a bunch of other stuff. Idle air control, airflow sensor, that's your manifold airflow, throttle position sensor. Right. So this one does have some pretty nice functions. If you're a home user and you're not going to get into some crazy stuff with your car, you just want to have an idea what's going on, verifying a check engine light, this is actually probably everything you will ever need. And I'm not saying that in a condescending way. I'm saying that as I've been a mechanic for 25 years, and for 90% of what I do, this would be just plenty. I could pull a code, I could look at live data if I needed to, and then I reference the internet and figure out what's going on with it. Alright. Go through there. Goes back to that. If you want to clear your codes, you hit the button, it asks you if you want to clear that, and I clear it. Now that I've cleared that, oops, go back. Now watch what happens. Now you see how those lights are blinking, and now I'm down to yellow here. Well, now it's reset all that lights. I've got to get my readiness set, and that's to keep you from cheating when you take your emissions tests every year, that you don't just buy one of these code readers and clear your codes and take it down to be inspected. It knows that it hasn't been driven long enough to see if these components are actually fixed. They have self-tests they have to run, and in order to do that, it takes some miles and some time. So those won't stop blinking until 50, 60 miles, sometimes even longer, depending on the conditions it's looking for. Okay, so now let me put this one down, and I'll go get the OTC, and I'll show you a fairly drastic difference in the abilities, okay? So this is an OTC Genesis. It's the same as the Genesis Evo. All the red button Genesis have the same processor and memory as the Evos. So we're going to power this one on, and you're going to notice some differences fairly quickly. It's more like a Windows computer. It actually runs on Linux, I think, but your Snap-on and your Matco and your Mac, they all have scan tools similar to this, and they all do basically the same functions, some better than others at certain areas and some better than others in other areas. In other words, no scan tool, no matter how much you spend, is perfect. What you can see off the bat, though, is not only do we have our regular scan diagnostics, which is what a code reader will do for you, but there's also built-in repair info. More newer models than this one will be hooked directly to Identifix and all data, so you can get information directly off the web. This unit is still in production as the Evo, but I mean, it's been around since 2000, so it's older technology. Doesn't mean it's not good technology, because it's really, this for the price, is one of the best scan tools on the market used today. But it has information for tire pressure monitoring. You've got repair info that's basically an Identifix database that's built into the hard drive here. It's actually a CF card, but it's a hard drive for all purposes. One of the biggest pluses to having a genuine scan tool for me is the ability to play back recorded files. This thing, you can go for a drive and record the car as you're cruising down the road, and you go back to the shop and you take a look, and you can go through the data and figure out what was going wrong without having to stare at it while you try to drive down the road. And that's kind of cool. Alright, so look at it. Here it is, recording. This is watching. This is at 153 degrees, and watch as I go through the frames. RPM staying the same, but right. So I can go through that. I can also look at it in graph form to see if there's a dropout on a sensor. You can't do that with a code reader. You can't do that with a mid-level code reader. That's something that a real genuine scan tool can do. Now, do you need that? you know, it depends on what you're doing. I do because I make a living as a mechanic. You know, I've been doing this for 25 years, so it's kind of important for me to have those functions. But for the average homeowner, maybe not. You know, read a code, take a look at a little bit of live data, go on the internet and figure out your problem if you're brave enough to fix it. What sets this apart in the other half is that instead of being generic, I can pick the car that I'm working on. In this case, I'm looking at a Toyota, and I'm looking specifically at the system I want to work on. So it's going to go in, it's going to ask me some information, and it's going to pick me the exact car that I'm working on, which in this case is a 2003 Toyota Echo. And I want to look at the engine. As you can see on this car, it doesn't have very many. I don't have ABS, so that's non-functional. It does have an airbag, but let's look at the engine itself, okay? And this is a manual. It's going to ask me what cable to hook up, and then I'm ready to go. It has all the same functions as a code reader, but it goes a lot deeper. Okay, you have your DC, you know, read your codes, right? You also have your data stream, which is live data. One nice thing about this is I can go in and just look at the data I want. I can pick a custom one. So let's say I want to go to misfire. Go down to misfire. Now it's going to tell me, okay, look, I've got calculated load. These are the ones I want to look at. And we'll look at idle air control too, okay? And then I want to hit view data. There we go, calculated load. There's your coolant temperature, RPMs, injector ratio, and idle air control valve. You can watch those numbers bounce around. Now if I see something completely goofy, I know I've got a problem. Also, it has a graphing function, so if I want to look at that, again, if I'm looking at this and I'm going, well, that's normal, that's normal, and there's a giant drop off and it doesn't come back, now I know I've got a problem. Again, I want to go take this thing for a drive, but I don't want to be staring at this instead of the road. I hit the record function, and now it starts recording. And when I get back, I can come back into the shop and look at this on the computer. I can even transfer this to a real computer, and I can email it to someone, and they can give me their opinion. So that's pretty cool. It has other functions in here, as far as you can zoom in, you can pathfinder, you can sort it if you're looking at a lot. There's different ways to look at this, but we'll go ahead and stop this, back out, clear out of that, and then you get into special tests, okay? And this is also where you make some good diagnostics. So you've got engine tests, evap tests, you got fan tests, fuel system tests, injector tests, relay tests, right? So let's go to VVT. I want to know if the variable valve timing solenoid on this car is working. I can go into here, and this is where bidirectional control is a huge moneymaker for mechanics full-time. Do you need this at your house? I don't know. I can't answer that for you. My guess is probably not. But if you really like to dig in deep, by all means. So this is giving me, hey, you want your engine running, must be at idle, must be in park. And there it goes. Now the RPM should change. This thing's going to run a test. Ready? Oh, the engine's not fully warmed up, so we won't be able to run it. But you get the idea. This thing gets into systems. I can check AC. I can, let's see, there's probably relay for the AC. I'm not going to activate all these because it just wastes too much time. Yeah, AC magnetic clutch relay. So I've got an AC system that comes in, or I'm working on my own car and the AC compressor clutch won't turn on, and I want to know, is the clutch bad? Is the control bad? Well, now I can ask this to turn that on manually, and if I hear my relay click on, then I know I've got a working AC compressor, and that the relay works. So the problem is either in the control head, or maybe a blown fuse controlling the control head. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to turn this thing off, and we'll go back inside and we'll talk just for a few minutes more about which one might be the right one for you, and I'll give you some ideas on where to go ahead and find these. Alright, so here we are back in the house. Now I'll give you an idea what a code reader or mid-level scan tool can do, as opposed to what a professional scan tool can do. Certainly the sky's the limit when it comes to these babies. This I'm going to recommend as probably the best bang for the buck on the used market today. An OTC Genesis with the smart cable can be had for shit like $150 to $200. You can get software updates to take it up to 2012 for another $60, and you've got a tool that's every bit as good as the tool that the mechanic that you're going to take your car to is going to have. I know this because this is mine. This tool right here, if you're a home user and that's as far as you want to take it, is probably a-okay. The funny thing is, for the price of this used, you're going to spend on this new. This was $249 or $299 10 years ago, and for the newer version that uses a USB cable instead of a serial cable for updates, it's pretty much the same price. It's still $249 to $299, and it's worth it. It's a good tool, especially for the home user. It comes with a nice manual. There's a CD. There's a bunch of cables. You can throw some batteries in there, and it becomes backlit. You know, I'm not knocking it. Obviously, I own it. I think it's a great scan tool, and for 90% of the work I do, 90% of the work you're going to do, it's probably all you're ever going to need. However, if you're really into tinkering, or you have quite a few cars and you want to save $1 down the road, you know, a used scan tool like this that costs, you know, maybe $250 fully decked out or $350 fully decked out, it's a pretty good deal. Buying that new, you're talking about maybe $1,200 to $1,500. Buying a Snap-on one new, you're talking $6,000 to $7,000. Mako, $5,000. Autel, which makes the MaxiDOS and the MaxiSys, those are, you know, $850 to $1,500. Those are pretty nice units. Another thing to look into if you want to buy one new. So I'm not really telling you which one to buy. I'm just showing you that this one is capable of doing a lot of things. This one is capable of doing almost everything. No tool is capable of doing it all. So this is Eric, owner of Farpoint Farms, and I hope this was of some help. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me in the comment section and I'll get back to you. At some point I may do more videos on this one and give a review. Like I said, I've had this since 2008. I've had that since 2010. And both of them have many hours of use on them. As you can tell, I take pretty good care of my equipment, and you should too. Anyway, take care, enjoy, and I will see you next time.